Gwan, are you there? What's good? And you know who this is, baby. The number one podcast in America, dedicated to all you kings and queens of color, homies and homettes, shoutouts, woo gals, G-boys, and charges. The one and only Jerk Jollof and Collard Greens podcast.
Wagwan, are you there? What's good? And welcome to episode 27 of the Jerk Jollof and Collard Greens podcast, the world's most cultured podcast. I'm your host and humble extrovert, Glenn, aka G Ransom on Instagram. And today we're delivering part 2 of our discussion on life, dating, relationships, family, and careers with the returning multi-generational guest panel from part 1, Danie, Chandrelly, and Champ. If you missed part 1, feel free to check out episode 23 to get caught up. Part 2 of the discussion today will be focused on gathering the thoughts and opinions of our guests and host panel regarding partner selection, marriage, family, and career choices today. Panel members and guests will strive to address whether the institution of marriage holds any significance today, as well as generational views on work, life, and achieving balance. But before we delve any further, if you're not already a follower or perhaps tuning in for the first time, would like to learn more about the show, definitely check us out on Instagram at Jerk Jollof Collard Pod, where you can stay up to date on our latest offerings, announcements, and join the JJC community. Now, if you know anything about this show, you know that we are the world's most well-seasoned podcast, and I attribute that honor to my brothers in bond, aka the JJC panel, starting with Mr. Naira himself, D-Ron, aka D-Black.
What's good? What's good?
All right, fellow hosts, angriest black man in America, Chunky.
I'm fucking losing in fantasy football. Sucks. I'm 0-3. Can't take this anymore. I think I'm just gonna drop out this league.
Okay. You gotta take a couple L's to get those W's, man. We gotta talk matchups. We'll talk about that. We'll get on that. Social media plug, the franchise, aka Francis.
What's good? Good to be back. And Chunky, F you too.
Aww.
There we go. That's the proper greeting. And our in-house creative, half old equal, half amazing, Dre P. What's up, man?
You. What's up, everyone?
All right. Now, as you all know, I'm a Jamaican, and that means anything to you all. One thing you should definitely keep in mind is that we love big things, isn't it? But I do have a heart for small businesses. And with that said, before we jump into today's discussion, I'd like to dedicate this episode's Rep Your shout out to Top Hat and Tails, which is a Black-owned formal wheel store located in Maplewood, New Jersey. Top Hats and Tails specializes in men's formal wear and casual attire, suit and tux rentals, and tailoring to keep you in top shape and fit it in the latest drip for that next big event or special outing. I personally shop there myself, and it's always been a pleasure working with the staff. And they've been my go-to source locally whenever I'm looking for unique finds or to seldomly splurge, on some of those designer and international brands. Sometimes you gotta get fitted right. So if you're attending or planning a wedding or looking for some new fits, feel free to visit their website at tophat-tails.com for their latest specials, or check out their brick and mortar location at 1856 Springfield Avenue in Maplewood, New Jersey, and show them some JJC love. Now, without further ado, as I mentioned, we do have guests here today. You know how we get when we have guests in the house, and they are our returning multi-generational panel from part 1. And what I'd like you all to do is I'm going to drop this question to you all that I found from Instagram. It's actually a page called Embrace Your Singleness on IG, which is tailored to single women in particular. But I figured everyone could actually benefit from this question. I'm going to smash the ice on this one. And I'd like you all to just introduce yourselves as well when you address the question. So here it is. What is the hardest for you to say? A, I apologize. B, I need help. C, I love you, or D, I was wrong. Now let's start off with our single male on the panel, Champ. Introduce yourself and give us your take on this question.
It's your boy CHMP to the early, reporting to you live. First and foremost, I think the hardest thing for me to say is I was wrong. And I'm gonna tell you why, because usually most of the time I feel like I'm right. So I'll lead like I'm right the whole time. I'll have a lot of conviction behind it and everything. And then to find out, the whole time you were wrong and you were talking all that good stuff. And it just kind of comes back like, damn, I sounded smart the whole time, but didn't know what I was talking about. So saying I was wrong is a tough thing for me, to be honest.
I appreciate the revelation. I'll actually break down what was the most selected answer afterwards, after we all get our takes. But, thank you for that, being transparent there, my brother.
Yes, indeed.
Let's go over to Shani. What's your take on the question, and reintroduce yourselves to our listeners.
Yes. Hey, everybody. It is Chandrell, aka Chandrelly. That's my name on all social media platforms. So go ahead and follow me. I will say the hardest thing for me to say is also I was wrong. And I say that because I don't say things out my ass. If I'm going to say something, chances are it's because I believe it. And the worst thing is to be loud and wrong. So saying I was wrong, yeah, it's something hard that's coming out of my mouth.
I bet. Next up, let's bring it over to Danielle. Danie, what's your take?
Hi, everybody. Danie here. Thank you again for having me for a second time.
No, thank you.
I'm gonna try to be less shout out this time. But I think for me, it would probably be I need help. I feel like I'm the put together type. So for me to say that I'm struggling with something, I don't know. Like I don't even know who I can really even call on if I do need help with something. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm the one that people go to when they need help. So when I need help, I feel a little bit like in crisis mode myself. So I think that's what it would be for me.
Okay.
Question. So I was actually struggling with that as well, wondering if I need help would be the hardest. But then I just feel like there's so many different factors. Like, are you talking mentally? Are you talking financially? Are you talking everything? Because, if I need help with a problem, like a simple problem, that's not a problem to, reach out for. But like financially, that's a problem. Mentally, that's a problem. So like, I feel like with number two, it might need to be a little specified for me, but that was a close second for me as well.
Actually, funny enough, I was thinking, in what capacity is the relationship for each of these as well? Like, are we talking about a partner? Are we talking about a friend? Are we talking about family members? So that was something that I was, but I generalized my answer. So that's why I picked that one. But I feel like that I need a little bit more specifics too, I think.
Yeah. So in these particular questions, it's actually not even relationship based. It's really just general. But let's be real, like every interaction we get or witness is a relationship, right? When you see your parents, that's a relationship. As a sibling, that's a relationship. It's not always just romantic. So I think whatever applies here in your single life is also going to apply or, have some reverence in your actual adult life with your family, how you interact with your friends. Like, I think it's actually going to be like kind of like a common denominator in all those relationships, because what's going to be prevalent in one place is likely going to show up in another. But before we get to that though, and we'll actually do the big reveal after everyone answers, let's bring it over to our host panel and let's drop it over to Dre. What's your take, brother?
Yeah, I think probably for me in my my marriage, and I think probably all of my relationships, definitely the I need help is one that I would say is normally harder for me. I think all the other ones, as a married veteran, I've learned how to apologize. I learned how to say I was wrong quite a bit. But yeah, I think that I need help is the one sometimes to my detriment, where it's almost like I'm waiting to the last minute to ask for help. Like it's that bad where, I really need help from someone. And whether it's something small or big, I normally try to put it off until the last second, because I guess I feel like I can always figure it out. So yeah, that's something that I feel like I need to work on a bit.
All right. Francis, what's your take, man?
Yeah, no, yeah, me too. I was strong with this one too, but like just kind of thinking of it from a general standpoint, I think I need help is also one of mine, because just kind of thinking about it from work, I always pride myself as a problem solver. So usually when I need help is because I've already exhausted all of the options that I have. So that will be my option as well.
All right. Chunks.
Honestly, I don't struggle with any of these. And that's real talk. I've gotten to the point where if I have to apologize for something, I just apologize. If I need help, I say it. I look at it as like delegation. If I can't get something done, of course I have to rely on my wife. Like, hey, I need you to take this here. I need you to make this phone call for me. I'm too backed up for the day. Here are the things I got going. What can you take? Saying I love you it's fairly routine. Not to mean it's meaningless, but it's something that needs to be said. And for those who've known me for a while, if I've ever been wrong, I'm like, so what? I'm wrong. And what's your point? I just move on. So there's nothing wrong with being wrong. So it's just like, that's the key to like learning more, and you just accept it and just move forward. I know I didn't pick any one of those things. So I say E, none of them I have an issue with.
Okay. D Black.
Yo, that was a really good take, Chunk. Because I'm like, it's funny because I was looking at it, I'm like, damn, I really don't struggle with too many of these.
It said hardest.
Hardest for
It's
you.
hardest.
I know, and it's funny because I knew somebody was like, wait, you gotta pick one now, brother. Don't pull a Francis, but no,
I did pick one, so good try, cuz. Good try.
He didn't backtrack either. He didn't backtrack. He was very direct.
Yo, man.
But that's a great point that Dre raised, because I mean, essentially, some people don't get that they will hit one of these things until it's been drilled to them, until you have like undeniable proof that you'll listen, bro, you were wrong. You know what I mean? And you may not. That's not saying that which one would you never say. It's just, hey, which one, it may take some coercion or massaging for you to say it eventually. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, that's a good point, though. Yeah, I think it all just across the board, that's a really great point, and everybody had some good feedback. If I have to choose one, I mean, I do kind of align myself kind of more like Chunky, because if anyone listens to any of the other podcasts, I think like the number one thing I'm about is communication for every aspect of every relationship. So, and all these kind of lean heavily on communication and knowing yourself, and that's kind of like a big piece of kind of who I am. But if I had to specifically choose one, yeah, I mean, I think it would be I need help also, but I don't know what that's a testament to. I think it's more of a testament to our current culture, where everyone kind of needs to be really self-sufficient and self-reliant, and like we're afraid to ask for help. For me personally, I'm not necessarily afraid to ask for help. I just really don't like being a bother to other people. I love being available to other people to help and be as much as supportive as possible, but I really don't like being a bother. So I need help would be very challenging if I had to pick out of the options here.
Thank you. And I would say for myself, the host today, my struggle, or the hardest for me to say, would definitely be D, I was wrong. Because like similar to Shani, I feel like I put a lot of emphasis into what I'm saying. I do my research before I come back with a response. And, in reality, it's like there's some things that are just not empirical. There are some things that are just not objective in nature. There are some things that are just subjective. And, at times you just got to look at the nature of the relationship that you're in, or the nature of the discussion or the topic that's being talked about. No one knows everything. You know what I mean? And I think there's nothing wrong with saying that, hey, I was wrong, or even saying any of these things. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's just being clear and communicating honestly with yourself and revealing a little bit more with yourself. I think we've all been there. So it is definitely something that we've all had to say at least one point in our lives. Whether that's not something that we say every day, but definitely something that we've come across. And I think, honestly, the only way you don't say these things is if you just have no interactions at all, because we all have different perspective, points of view. And, when you bring that to the table, you try to, homogenize these things and, try to melt them together, you're going to realize there's differences and even natural conflicts in all of our relationships. So the most picked answer was actually B, I need help. And that was via Instagram. And that was pretty amazing to see. I think even more particularly within like the Black community as well, like where we get this perception that we're here to always fight and struggle, and looking for help can be a sign of weakness, and
that's true. Mm-hmm.
A need for dependency. And I think even something that we need to learn, even as when we're young, essentially, like, a lot of the times, when we're young, a lot of us deal with nieces and nephews and kids. They don't want to be helped, right? They're always independent. They always know what to do. Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, a part of it could be not also going through those stages in childhood and realizing I need people that I need to rely on. Like whether, I think a lot of our parents camouflaged it, right? Like they made it appear that, yeah, you're doing it, you're doing good, not knowing that they were behind the scenes pulling the strings the entire time. And
it's so funny you say that. Sorry, but so funny you say that, because like I'll be doing that with my niece. Like, I talk to Chunky about this all the time. Like, I don't know how, like, props to parents and everything like that, but if a kid is trash, the kid is trash. Like, I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't get
so
it.
Listen.
No, hold on. Because all right, what
let me get
specific,
this
really, really specific example, and because when you first of all, everybody enrolls their kids in soccer. I feel like that's the universal sport for kids.
That's the funniest thing to watch, man.
Oh my gosh, and they're all coordinated. They all look like little bobbleheads. They going in the wrong direction, and then if they scored a goal in the wrong goal, parents still be like, "Yeah, great job." Great job. Tell your kid it's trash. Pull them out of the sport. Save everybody some time. What's wrong with that? My dad always would tell me if I was bad at something, straight up. So
Right.
I don't understand that.
I agree. As a
I think
current teacher, I agree. Like sometimes you just got to be honest with some of these children. Not everything is for anybody, and that doesn't only apply to 16 and up. Like sometimes these kids don't got it. Like put them in something else to see what their other skills are. But not everybody can play soccer.
And that's what I'm saying. You don't gotta be mean about it, but just be honest with your kids.
I think it's twofold, right? I think there's an age where you tell them they're trash, and before that, you build them up to have self-confidence. So when you tell them that they're trash, they're able to accept it more. You tell them, like, if the child's 5 and say, "You're garbage, get off the field," and you suck, I don't think that child's going to take it as well as if they're like 10 or 11. And then again, to me, the second issue is just like that parent. So at one point I was coaching basketball and I know nothing about basketball, like knowing any calls, anything like that. And they're double dribbling, they're doing all this crazy stuff, just like in soccer. And the parents losing their mind, like, "Go on, ref, that's a double dribble." I'm like, the kid is fucking 4. Like it happens. So you kind of just move on with it. It is not that big of a deal. So I think that there's a point in time for you to do that. Yeah, when a kid is trash and the parent has to accept that too, just accept it. Your kid's garbage. They're not going to be the next LeBron James. They're not going to shoot a 3-point shot at the age of fucking 3. Hey, give it up.
also, like it's okay for the kids to have fun, right? You don't play sports just to be the best in the world, right? They're not trying to join the Premier League tomorrow, right? It's a sport, right? It's like, get out. It's a way for them to build relationships with people. You know, everybody doesn't have to be, the best. And I'm sure, D-Black, if you're ever fortunate enough to have kids, I'm sure I'd like to hear this take again, because I'm sure you may feel differently once you have children.
But that's what I'm saying. But you see what you said? You said that, "Oh, we're just here to have fun." Okay, that's cool. So when the kid is like not
winning is
fun,
fun.
But did you have fun though? But did you have fun?
I don't believe in participation trophies.
I mean, Chucky and I know how we feel about competition.
Yeah, those participation trophies give kids the wrong idea, but
I will melt it
in
a heartbeat.
I mean, his name is Champ. Tell him, Champ.
Tell him, Champ. You got to
earn that champ because he ain't got no championships.
You got to get that championship properly. You can't have a 0-12 season and get a trophy for participation.
Why not though?
It shows that they were trash and they still got awarded for it.
Like the key things with children, I think the teachers will agree, is that at first they have to master their bodies, right? Like it's them using their bodies in a way that they're not used to. So yeah, it may not, some people are probably born like the next Messi or the next Ronaldo, you know what I mean? But for most kids, it's probably going to be like, all right, let me develop these skills. And I think that's why that praise and encouragement is initially rewarded, because they're just getting used to the functions, using their tools, using their feet in ways, using their minds in ways that they never had to, So it's like first mastering your body, then, okay, what do I need to do here? So participation medals are good in that early development stages. And when it gets more competitive, then you can see where start to root out the week and be like, all right, is this for you? Maybe your skills are in something else.
I mean, you think that becomes like an expectation? So like if a kid's been getting participation trophies for the past 6 or 7 years,
expect that trophy.
And then they play in an actual competitive sport, they're gonna be like, "Oh, okay, we went 0-12, so where's my trophy?"
I mean, they would learn the hard way. I mean, all I gotta say is we all have to start from somewhere. You just then became who you were, like who you are.
Oh, nice. Champ and I did. Like, Champ and I came out the womb.
We came out like that. We came out swinging.
They came out with the drip.
One day at a time. You mature and grow. So you should give them space to do that as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you for that closure, Francis. And let's get into the topic now. I see all this bravado and bravery here. The first topic or the first segment of this discussion is now relationships. You already covered dating. If you haven't listened to it, go back to part 1. Take your time. It's always going to be there. So let's cover the relationships aspect of it. And I guess the first thing I want to ask is, since the last recording, I'm gonna start off with our guest panel first because you guys are all still in the game, guys and gals. Have you made any strides since the last discussion? And let's start off with the man Champ. He's always early, never late. Have you had any success? Are you dating anyone now? Any strides in the game? Any progress?
Yeah. I'm not dating, but I'm still talking to the French girl I was talking about last time where there was a language barrier. And I feel like we're making good progress. You know, we've been messaging each other back and forth. We still have to get to that point where we meet up, but I think we're making some good strides. We've been on, in the DMs for a little bit, but I think I'm doing good. Other than the couple of times I got stood up, that has been happening as of late because now I'm being a little selective. You know, I'm being a little more cautious and I'm kind of going through my progressions properly and asking questions. I mean, we talked about that. You got to ask questions. I mean, I'm talking about as soon as you meet them, just ask some necessary questions like, what are you about? What are you looking for? You know, those necessary things as opposed to listen, you look good. Can I get your number? Can I call you sometime? Not get some other things out of the way so you don't waste your time. You got to.
What's your credit score? Yeah.
You might as well.
Body count.
You might as well get right to the point. I think they want that like early. Some of them might get offended, but get it all out the way. Get as much as you can and then move from there and not feel like you're in the dark and everything. All right, so I feel like there's definitely progress.
To put closure on it, or what are your relationship goals and expectations currently? Are you looking for a long-term serious relationship, marriage? You could be polygamous. Like, what's going on?
I would say I'm looking for marriage. You know, it's kind of crazy out here. So I mean, all that playing around stuff is it's not really working for me. So no, I would definitely say marriage at this point is the goal. And you know, you gotta talk with someone before you date, and then you court, and then you go through those steps, and then of course marriage is the goal.
Okay. Would you ever consider like maybe a dating show like 90 Day or like, you know, The Box, or they have like what's this new one called Fuckboy Island? You know, would you ever consider something like that?
You know, I feel like with those shows, I feel like a lot of it is scripted. I don't feel like it's organic. I feel like they're getting a lot of coaching from the side and everything. So I'm not too, but I would do it. Some people fall in love and they're still in a relationship to this day. So yeah, I think I would do it. I definitely experiment with it because it puts you out there and it, you know, you're meeting with people that are on the same page as you. So yeah, of course.
The world needs Champ. I'm convinced.
Man,
the world needs Champ.
Champ, get that IG followers up, bro. Go join one of them shows. And you made it. You know what I mean?
Nah, man.
I would definitely be watching it.
Yeah.
Do anything for clout.
Real.
Nah, man, don't do that to Champ.
Do it, Champ. Do it.
Hey, I'll do it.
Dude. All right, let's hear it from another one. Shani, what's up?
Yes, go ahead and repeat the question for me.
All right, so first, has there been any progress since the last discussion? Are you seeing someone currently? If not, what are your relationship goals or expectations? Are you looking for something long-term, serious, something on the side? What's going on?
I'm not currently seeing anyone seriously, but I wouldn't say that I'm openly dating either. I have my mind focused on other things like my career right now, but I'd be a liar to say that I'm not dabbling with my ex. So it's very messy.
Sister.
To answer your follow-up question, what are my relationship goals? Short term within this year, I want to say I don't have any. Like I said, I'm focused on other things, but hopefully within the next 5 years, I hope to be in a serious relationship on the path to marriage. But again, no rush, because at the end of the day, you know, what's supposed to be will be for me. And that may be in 5 years, 10 years, or 15. So I'm not going to sit here and I'll try to manifest it, but I can't sit here and say like, this is where I'm going to be. So
that's a good position to be in, though.
Yeah.
You know, let it come to you, you know. I mean, you're not closing your eyes to it, though. You know, you let it come to you.
Does that work, though? Or do you have to kind of like really
listen, like I just told you, my vision's a little blurred right now.
It's foggy out here, bro.
She has some entanglements right now. So, I mean,
literally.
Is that not potentially a hurdle preventing you from your blessing?
I don't see it as one, for the simple fact that like the situation I'm in right now is simply because there's a lot of growing up to do, not because there's a lot of real problems. So who knows, in the next 5 years, the ex can turn fiance. You know what I mean? So I don't want to say that it's blocking any blessings of mine, but I'll also say it's not a main focus of mine.
Gotcha. Okay. So let's hear it from Danie then, and let's get you caught up. Has there been any progress in your dating strides? Have you seen any success? Are you currently seeing someone? And if not, what are your relationship goals, expectations? Are you looking to be into something serious? Are you looking to play the field? What's going on your end?
Now we're talking about since the last time we had this session or this
We want to recap. What's going on?
So, I mean, my men have been treating me very well. But I would say that it has narrowed down to maybe 2 and a possible contenders right now that are serious.
Okay.
Or that are moving in a way that I feel are, that I like. They're moving in a way that I like. So I'm not going to say that they're serious, because who knows, they might not be serious. We haven't had the discussion like, oh, what you guys trying to do? Because I'm just, I'm still dabbling. So I'm not going to.
What's that word again you use?
I'm still being mixy.
Yeah, that's what I was about to add.
Still being mixy. So I'm not going to
making drinks.
I'm not going to pressure you to make a decision if I'm not ready to really make a decision. So I feel like if somebody were to step up and be like, you know what, I want to take you seriously, I want to date you exclusively. If it was one of the two, now if it was one of them, I would say yes. If it was the other one, I'd say I think we need a little bit more time. So,
are any of them mixy as well? Just out of curiosity.
One of them is very mixy.
Well, it could be. There's levels of mixiness. You said very.
Or is it subjective?
That gotta be like
it might be subjective
or 6 guys.
I feel like I'm mixy, but nobody ever. It's funny enough. I was just talking to my friend about this. Nobody ever feels like I'm mixy. I guess I give off the, oh, she loves me and only me, and she's only dating me. Like I give off that because I think I've said that like before. Like if I'm with you, I make you feel like you're the one I'm with, because at that moment you are the one that I'm with. So but I feel like some of the people that I do date, they give off like you're dating other girls. Like you just reek of you're dating other girls, which is fine. But I feel like I don't do that. So I guess there is maybe some level of mixiness, or I don't know. That's a good question.
Okay.
Danie, one question for you. So outside of them just actually saying we like to go out with me, or making it more straightforward like that, is there anything else you're looking for in those 2 options that you have yet to see? As far as like, is there any other qualities or things, action that you like to see from them they have yet to display to you that will hold you back from?
I mean, like I said, the one is really like he's doing, he's doing what needs to be done. He's completing the assignment and getting A's on those assignments. So I wouldn't require anything else from him. He's good in my book. The other one, I feel like our communication isn't all that great. It's a little sketchy sometimes. And like I said, he just reeks of mixiness. So it's just like, I don't really want to, it's okay if I'm mixy, but you can't be mixy too.
I guess one add-on question then. Are you then waiting? So in that case, if one is exceeding expectations, are you waiting on him to be the one to say, hey, D, I want to be in a relationship with you? Or at any point, is it okay for you to be the one to take the initiative and say, hey, you're checking all the marks in my book. What's going on? Are we taking this to the next step?
I'm still okay with chilling right now. I'm not really like rushing anything. I feel like if I'm going to be with somebody exclusively, I intend for it to be something that's going to be very long term. So if I'm looking for longevity, it's like I'm not going to rush it. It needs to be like right. Everything needs to be aligned. And I feel like as a woman, you can't rush a man into something like that. I don't really feel like that. I can say, okay, this no longer aligns with what I'm trying to do. It doesn't seem like you're trying to go that route, so I'm going to remove myself. But I feel like what are we doing, when you gonna be my man? I feel like that's not, I don't feel like that's my place to do that. I feel like it's a man's job to be like, you know what, okay, look at you, I choose you.
Take the lead. I understand.
Precisely.
I understand. So let's on the flip side, let's bring it over to our host panel here, the fellas. Majority of the fellas here are all married, so I guess you could say in a sense they X the dating game and move straight on into the relationships. As evidenced by their status. So exactly. Let me ask this question. Do goals or expectations ever end in a relationship? Now that you pretty much reached the I guess you would say, the benchmark or the pinnacle of the relationship game, do goals or expectations ever stop? Is it like, okay, I'm married now, I have nothing else to worry about? Or do goals and expectations still play a part?
No, that's a quick way for a relationship to fall apart, in my opinion. You gotta keep having expectations, or
Exactly.
at least catering to those expectations of your significant other. You know, once you start letting them things, I mean, obviously we all kind of put on our best dress day one, you know, before we get married, you know, not necessarily wearing the exact same outfit, you know, a couple years in the game, but you're still trying to impress. You're still trying.
Rips in the armor there.
I know a couple rips in there, little
chinks in there,
stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you start learning, like I think I said before, you start learning what really matters in your relationship, and then you start having expectations that are, like, I mean, really grounded in what your significant other is truly capable of providing. You know, finding balance, always fine tuning, but you know, you always need to be kind of like pushing each other to try to be better. You know, in your own way.
I definitely second D on that. You know, with the relationship and marriage, you know, you always want that expectation, the goals to keep going up. You don't want your relationship to get dull and plain. So you always want to see yourself rise to the occasion, doing new things, taking them new places, you know, doing something they haven't done before, because you always want them to feel as if the relationship is fresh.
Coming from a man who's not married, first of all.
He said fresh.
I know, right?
Fresh.
That was smooth, though, Champ. That was smooth, though. Like, I was going to wait till you finish, but Chunky,
Champs, I love when it comes to bullshit. That's my guy.
Especially with Champ. You got a history. But I would say, go ahead,
we got parents that have been married. We can speak on behalf of their, I mean, not too many of us, but, you know, from the Black culture, and there's a lot of us, our parents, so to speak. Yeah. They don't really stick together all the time, but we've been there where our parents have been together. And so we can kind of speak on behalf of that, and we can see when they were together, what it was like and what they did for one another. So from that standpoint, and even speaking on behalf of, you know, you, Tilla, D, you know what I mean, Dre, Francis, are you married again? Nah?
Yes, sir.
Again?
Oh, yes, all right.
Again.
My fault. He's trying to recollect.
Again,
he's trying to recall if he's married. Not that he's been married more than
my fault.
No, I know what you meant.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Just on behalf of all the married people, we can speak on behalf of that. And I'm sure you guys, you know, keep your relationships new, and you keep it always on the up and up to make sure, you know, your partner, not that they will go bored, but just to, you know, keep them happy.
So, yeah, Champ, tell them that you're ready for the job before you got it, man. You good, man.
You see yourself in that position?
That's real.
He comes to interview.
I mean, good point, because he shows up, you know, fully dappered and everything.
But you're supposed to do, right?
Doing everything.
Yeah, real talk,
little
though,
things.
You're supposed to do the job 3 to 6 months prior to get promotion. So I feel that.
There it is.
I'm waiting for you, man.
Francis, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I got you.
I'm on my way. I'm on my way.
Yeah. Good luck.
Here's with some more of the married men on the panel.
I would say I don't have expectations anymore. I have goals. And the reason why I say the difference between the two is that we look out for something that we need to meet at. So like, whether it be financial goals, whether it be communication goals, whether it be like going out goals, that's the thing. It's just like, okay, cool, for this month, the goal is to hit at least 4 or 5 dates within this month, right? So I don't expect it, because usually when you have an expectation and it falls short, it kind of bothers you. But you have a goal and you achieve it, and if you don't achieve it, it's still manageable to get around it. So I think as I move through my marriage, it's just like, okay, cool. Well, the goal is to be better communicators. How can we advance on that? When I feel some type of way, I need to tell you, and this is the way I need to tell you. I don't expect for you to tell me that you're upset all the time. What my goal is that I found out more times than none that something is bothering you, and I know what that something is without you having to speak towards it, based off your body language, based off your facial expressions. So to me, I agree with goals and the marriage, but I really don't believe expectations, and expectations and goals is my personal opinion subjectively. I want to get to that pinnacle where it's just like, it's free flowing information back and forth. She doesn't have to say anything to me. I know to, you know, pick up our kid from daycare. I know to pick up something from somewhere else. I know to cook tonight. It's not expected of me. It's just like, we found that niche where everything just runs properly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other final words from the host panel?
Yeah, I would just say, just keep it interesting. I think like you guys already kind of said some really good stuff. You know, for my spouse and for my wife and I, you know, she always challenges me, and I really enjoy that, because, like, for example, she always reminds me of, even Obama, when he was a president, he and his wife always go out on Fridays. So like stuff like that, we always kind of like have those kind of conversation, like, to Chunky's point, one of our goals is really to just working on the communication part of it and just improving on it. So to make sure we kind of align better on stuff, So yeah, so you definitely got to keep going. There's always a higher height that you could get to that you have to always kind of pursue. So never settle on your laurels, I should say. So
Okay.
Now my only thing. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
My only thing is that, I understand is, I know we always talk about relationship goals, and I mean, I don't knock the premise of goals, because a goal is, is ultimately the point that you're trying to reach. But with the expectation, for me, it refers to the work to get to that goal. You can have a goal, but if you don't have the expectation that someone's going to do the work to get to that goal, you still need both parts. So I do think it's healthy to have expectations of each other, because then you know what you're going to get out of your partner. They know what they're going to get out of you. And then even to Chunky's point earlier, expectations, when they fall short, at least you're learning your partner is like, okay, this is not a healthy expectation to have of them, because that's not what they do. That's not what they're about. I know who my partner is. I know they know me. Like,
So I'm gonna ask you this real quick.
Okay.
It's just like, and I know you. So is there any goal that you set that you never put work in for?
Yeah, but because you have that expectation.
So my thing is to you, like when you say like in order to achieve a goal, you have to have that expectation. It's just like when you set out a goal for yourself, you already know the things that you need to go through, right? There's no goal that you set thinking that you'll get it without putting any type of sweat equity in it.
Okay, but that's a goal that I put in myself. If you're talking about a goal that you have in your partner.
So as I continue.
Okay, I'm listening.
So the goal that you have set in your partner involves you too, right? So understanding if you put a goal in front of your partner, you know that they're going to work towards it. I don't think, but you can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think there's any goal that you put in front of your own partner currently right now that she was just like, meh, whatever.
Yes, I agree. There are goals that I can put in front of her that are unrealistic goals. So therefore,
but there's unrealistic expectations too, right?
And therefore, the expectation becomes unrealistic as well. And that's what I'm saying.
Part hand in hand.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, that they go hand in hand.
They do go hand in hand. I agree with that.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just.
Oh no. So it's like, once again, it's subjective, right? So, and that's my belief, and that's your belief. So we stand where we're saying. I think my goal for you is to hopefully understand what I'm saying.
My goal for you is to be more objective.
My expectation of you. My expectation of you.
Thank you. I was about to say.
It's interchangeable. You can interchange it. I think it is interchangeable.
Cool.
Really
you know what? I was wrong.
Oh, you said it. It took a little bit though. It took a
little bit. No, we just at the point where it's like, I'm wrong, and let's keep going forward.
All right, so let's put some closure on this, and I'll just add my 2 bits so we can move on with the agenda. Basically, I mean, I think I agree with D. I agree with everyone in a sense, but more so with D in a sense where, in order to have goals, there's an expectations involved in it too, right? Like if I get hired for a job, there's expectations that I can meet the objectives or meet my work requirements, right? Meet the duties that they ask me to fulfill. And I feel like if you throw that out the window, it kind of, you lose a bit of yourself as well. Like in your relationship, it is a business. You have to work to make it stronger. You have to work to make it healthy. You have to work to keep it and maintain it. So yeah, there's certain expectations you need to do. Like there's certain goals. If you want to hit a goal, you got to have certain expectations. And having a goal is an expectation. You know what I mean? So it's just like, in a way, they are somewhat interchangeable, not saying either one makes your relationship any less or any better. End of the day, you know, what you do at home is what you do at home. So that being said, let's bring it back to our guest panel here, get their words, and start off with Shani. Do you feel it's more difficult today to fulfill a serious or long-term relationship? And we're going to look into some of the generational differences here, because all the married people on the panel so far are fit millennials. And I think Shani is one of our Gen X's. And I think Champ, you're a millennial. And I think Danie, you're probably in between the two and in the cusp of the two. I think you're in there with Shani, though, I believe.
To answer your question, yes, I absolutely, yes. Oh, I'm not a millennial.
No, of
Oh my
course
God, I
not.
can't say that word. I was born in
Millennium.
96, so that ain't me. But yeah, I absolutely do think it's definitely much harder
Sorry,
to
Gen Z,
date.
not Gen X, Gen Z. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
No, you're fine. I definitely do think it's harder to date nowadays for the simple fact that the expectations are very different
Mhm.
abroad um, against a wide variety of people. And then I think the biggest problem with dating nowadays is social pressure. A lot of people cannot just be who they are, be their actual selves. There's a lot of social pressure making decisions for a lot of people. And I would be a liar to say that sometimes that I don't even have certain goals that I only have because of social media, because of things that I've seen on social media. So I definitely think dating is very different compared to back in the day where it's like a lot of people met people and got to know people simply off of who they are and not based upon a lot of other factors that surround that person. So yes,
Okay.
very different.
As far as pursuing a relationship, though, like, do you feel that also lends the idea that identity crisis makes it difficult to maybe even find someone that you want to be in a long-term relationship with, like
Yes.
outside of dating, but even just going straight into the actual relationship?
Yes, because like I said again, there's so many factors nowadays within relationships. I feel like a lot of people don't understand the concept of learning to love somebody. I feel like a lot of people are quick to write somebody off because certain things don't check off the boxes that they require. And again, I feel like a lot of these boxes are created because of social pressure. What happened to getting to know somebody and loving somebody for everything of who they are? That's not the case nowadays. I feel like nowadays people don't actually want to build with somebody. They want somebody who's already made.
Ooh, ooh, you preaching. I like that.
Let's bring it over to Danie. What's your take?
100% agree. I want somebody who's already made. No. I agree. I feel like not only is it like, societal pressures, it's just, I feel like we're such a progressive generation that we're always like looking towards the next best thing. Like we're like, you know what? I don't have to settle. We're that type of generation. Like I'm not my grandmother who had to stay with my grandfather because she didn't have a job of her own. You know what I mean? But that wasn't the case. My grandmother loved my grandfather. I'm just saying, like, as an example, we have a lot of independence and freedom, and we're so, I guess, quick to feel like we don't want to settle. That sometimes that, like Chandrell said, like we're not working towards anything a lot of the time. So I don't know. I think she hit it on the head.
Okay. Champ, brother, what's your take?
Yeah, you definitely want somebody that's established. We're in times right now where, we can't just, it's okay to help, champion somebody get, a little, get better and everything like that. But when we both are established and going toward the same goal, I think it makes things a lot easier. When it's not like that, it's a waiting process, and you gotta, a lot of us are out of school now, a lot of us are in our careers. So wouldn't you want the same? So that being said, you gotta be made. You gotta be made.
That's crazy. Here's the thing. I don't disagree with the premise, with the point that everybody's making. I actually agree with that. That's the ideology that's currently existing in the social.
And it's not a bad thing, it shows you. Hell nah.
Let's get a chance to. All right, Champ.
Nah, I'm saying because it shows one that they know what they've wanted from the beginning. It shows that they're responsible. It shows that they're go-getters, and it shows that they're not really indecisive about what they want in life, and that they're not always looking around. So they're stable and they're grounded. Come on now, don't.
All right. Let me ask you one question. One question I feel like it might blow up that whole thing. Right. So then, are you saying that like the generations before us, that when they met, trying to figure things out,
right?
They weren't goal oriented.
I feel like the generations before us were a little better because they dated despite their situations. I know a couple at Syracuse that were together and they slept in the same car together because they were so broke. and they made it. They ended up getting good jobs, working for the school, and here they are now, and they're married, and I believe they have a family. So I believe back in the day, they stuck together for less, but nowadays it's a lot different. It's a lot more different, and it's a lot faster now. So money definitely is on the table. It has to be on the table, and it's really difficult to take that out of the equation and then talk about a relationship. I mean, you can, but it's tough. It's tough.
So, Champ, so basically some of the arguments that you were bringing up about wanting somebody made were, I think, a little bit different about some of the things that I was thinking of. Okay. You brought up points as in people who know what they want, and what else had you had said? But that wasn't even where my mind was at. I was thinking about the certain people who only date people in their financial bracket. I was talking about the people who only date certain people that are of a certain height. You know what I mean? I'm talking about those actual attributes for people that get people knocked off. Like I said, like certain people have to check boxes. And I think what you're speaking on is a lot of emotional availability versus a lot of I want to say physical assets or I guess you can say physical assets and just other things that make up of a person that people are quick to write off. Because like I said, we're talking about some of the social pressures that play a role in relationships nowadays. And I think when it comes to communication in that way, that stuff is last on the list. I feel like a lot of women nowadays check off boxes of, does he meet this height? Does he spend this type of money? And I feel like with men, a lot of the boxes are, does she look like this? Can she do certain things like cook and clean, And not saying that these weren't similar boxes to what, people were looking for back in the day, but I just feel like back in the day, if you didn't have these certain attributes, they were willing to work with you until you obtain those certain goals. And I just don't feel like that's the situation nowadays. No, so I think we were on just a disconnect on what were the attributes specifically that we were talking about.
Okay. I think there was a little bit of a difference there and everything. But we're on the same page. When back in the day we wanted to build with one another, but nowadays we have to kind of be there, right? We're on the same page there.
Right. And I was saying that I'm okay with building with somebody, but like that's just not the world that we live in nowadays. And
that's what I was getting at and everything. Because nowadays it's a lot of people not too patient. They're looking around, they want this now, and they have these benchmarks that they set. Like, I want this at this age and I want this at that age. Mostly for girls, because you guys want to have a certain amount of, most of y'all want to have kids at a certain age. But guys, we have a bigger window, it could be 40.
Oh boy.
It's true. He's not lying.
He's not lying.
Before we get to that,
40, 50,
we
in there.
Let's Dre,
she wasn't with you shooting in the
before
gym.
We get to that, stop the gem real quick and we'll
I want to be I guess I don't want to say I want to be Mr. Contrarian Man, but I guess from speaking from someone who's married, I think that I'm also really big on like not wanting to compare things, but I think that it's just as hard for people to be married than it is for people dating. A lot of the same things that you guys are speaking about, I think are still challenges that people who are married still deal with, right? The internet is still around. You still see kind of examples of, hashtag couple goals, all those things. So I still think a lot of these challenges that you guys are speaking to are still relevant to people who are married. So it's not just because we're married, like we don't have any more issues. And, so I think it's just as, I don't want to say it's more difficult because it's not if you're not in a relationship, but I still think a lot of the challenges, at least from what I've heard you guys say so far, is pretty much a lot of married people still have the same issues. It may not be that we're worried about getting ghosted by our partners, because that's probably a lot harder to do when you're married and you live together, right? But there are a lot of those same other pressures. There's still a lot of those same social pressures or things that you're talking about with patience, or a lot of the comparing that people do today, right? Or even in like entertainment, right? There's songs on both sides, right? Of men saying this is what we want from women, women saying this is what we want from men. I still think a lot of those challenges still fit. Now, if we're comparing it to like our parents' generation, then I think it's there would be a case. But I think probably between our different generations, I think we have a lot of the same challenges.
Well, it sounds like a common thread here is the idea that because we're able to, I guess, see things on a greater scale or have access to things on a greater scale, that's actually a problem for us. Like we now have to kind of exercise willpower to prevent ourselves from backsliding and maybe even breaking commitments because we can now see what women in this country look like. And oh, wait, I can send this DM and get access to her. You know what I mean? I can do that now, as opposed to where it was like, you know, you get an idea of what a man is supposed to be, you get an idea of what a woman is supposed to be based on kind of like the social pressures that Shani was speaking on. And now having all these requirements on what is a person supposed to be, like, hey, here's how your Boaz supposed to be, here's how your woman's supposed to be. If they don't look like this, if they don't have this type of money, if they ain't flossing like this on the gram, they ain't fitting it. And, you know, that's pretty interesting to hear that access is a problem these days. So whereas
Well,
like, you know what?
When you give
Yeah.
somebody too many options, you know, they go a little stir crazy. So
That's not capital. That's fact.
So
true.
with that being said, and I'll direct it to the married people in our panel. If marriage isn't offering you any other protections anyway, is there any significance to being married in this day and age? Is the institution of marriage basically being belittled, looked down upon, or is it just like, if you're not benefiting from the finances and the taxes, there's really no emotional benefit? Like, who's it benefiting then to get married? Should we even look at getting married these days?
I mean, it's hard. I mean, that's a good question. I think, yeah, from that standpoint, yeah, you don't need marriage to solve to verify or to improve or do anything for your marriage or your relationship. But for me, I think it's just one of those things that it feels right to do. I think it's probably maybe I'm brainwashed or just the expectation of the past generation. But it is one of those things like you get in a relationship, you get with your partner, and the next step is to get married. And there are like, you know, federal benefit that comes with marriage, you know, for taxes purposes and all of that stuff that you can explore. But yeah, I mean, that is a good question. But for me, I think it's just one of those things that I think it's an expectation, I guess, you know, talking about expectation and goals versus goals, but it is an expectation that that next step to kind of solidify your relationship to the next level.
I look at it as like a goal. So there's a lot that comes with it, right? You're with someone that is who you bond with most of the time, that you can talk to them and go back and forth, the person that enhances you. So why would you want to pass that person up? Besides all the federal benefits, like that's the least of the concern. That's a bonus. But at the end of the day, it's just like, okay, well, if I look at it in the sense that this is the person I want to be with, this is the person that makes me happiest out of everybody else, I'm going to stick with this person. This is the person that's going to give me growth. This is the person that's going to enhance my intellect. This is going to enhance my emotional intelligence. So I'm not going to put them somewhere else. So yes, there's a lot to it that's just more than just, okay, cool, I'm with this person, I got another $5,000 in taxes. Like once you have kids, that changes the dynamic too. So it's just like, it's great having a nuclear household, right? The dad's there, the mom's there, you can do different things together, and that child or children gets the best of both worlds with those experiences. There's more things that you can tackle. Way in the beginning, one of the hardest things to say to people, like, you need help. When you get to that point where you don't have to ask for it, that person's just doing it, that's good to have a person that you're married to every day that's helping you out doing those things. Sometimes you don't have to say that you love that person. They know it by the actions that you're showing because you communicate it well enough. You can't get that with anybody. I mean, if you want to be a mixer, a very high level mixer, throwing shots. I don't think you'll get that. So that there is a huge emotional and spiritual component to being married. Money's cool, but at the end of the day, it goes with the saying is that money can't buy happiness. That emotional wealth comes with being with someone that treats you right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was just gonna quickly say, I think I think the institution of marriage also just kind of gives you a legitimacy just in general, right? You immediately people see your relationship as it being more serious, right? Because you're married to the person, right? But then also, like, God forbid if something happens and leak, you know, you're in the hospital, like your partner can your married partner is able to kind of sign off on certain things or get access. So I think from a lot of different perspectives, being married is helpful, other than just obviously the financial stuff, but legally you do have a person who's always kind of there for you if anything goes wrong, or if something were to happen to you or whatever. But just also on the social side, I just feel like people kind of respected my wife's relationship and I, like, once we were married, right? Oh, these guys are serious. They're not just dating, because we dated for a long time before we officially got married, right? So it was like, oh, they're taking it seriously now. There's just kind of an immediate, it's kind of like a blue check mark, I guess, on Twitter, right? For your relationship, right? Like you're actually taking this serious. You guys actually have skin in the game. That's how I see it.
So I'm gonna take a different angle, because here's the thing. As we evolve, socially, so does, how we kind of operate in society. I think it's interesting how we've been talking about, dating in the perspective of like the current generation, where everyone's kind of more, I guess egocentric is basically, but it really is what it is. But with that being said, it's like, so ultimately you always have to kind of make the best decision for yourself. For me, I mean, the best decision was to get married, and that was the perspective I took. But we live in a world where, where we are providing and creating opportunities for people to be independent and survive. It really is all, I mean, I guess it's not to be all super scientific, but ultimately you do these relationships for survival. But if you are capable and you're comfortable being independent or never like truly kind of committing to like one sole individual, because there are people that live that way. The society we live in allows you to do that. But my only request is, if that's how you choose to live, just be as transparent as possible, because it's really important that the other person or the other individuals on the other side know that that's kind of the life you chose. So.
Okay. All right, let's bring it over to our guest panel on this take. You've heard it from the married folk. For our single people out there, is there any significance in marriage, you think, in your day and age now? Let's start off with Danie.
Marriage is a business, just like I think Chunky was saying. Marriage is, Chunky, I don't know, you had me because you was like, marriage is a business, then you were emotional on me. So
that's
like,
good. You're good. Keep rolling.
That was a great Chunky impression, by the way.
No, marriage is definitely a business. I feel like it can be a lucrative investment. That's why it's important to ask, certain questions in the beginning of dating, like what's your credit score? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Like, what are your, financial goals and this and the third? Because you can be married to somebody and be so in love with them, but they're terrible with money and finances, and you're living check to check, which can be strenuous on the relationship. So, and not to mention, like, just money is important in marriage. And if anybody who doesn't agree that money is, very important in a marriage, then I don't know. I feel like that's just not realistic. So, I mean, besides that, of course, like it's marriage is a status upgrade. I feel like when people, like, I think Dre was saying that, it's like when people know that you're married, it is like an automatic prestigious upgrade kind of. And overall, it is nice to, just my little Chunky vibes right now, getting more sentimental. It is nice just to have a person that you can, kind of come home to, like a partner who you can rely on. I feel like that is important. I feel like that aspect of love is important. But I feel like if we're serious with each other, we need to start planning, for marriage if we've been together for a while, because you're not about to die on me and I don't get life insurance money. Like, come on, we're like taxes, like those income taxes start to increase. Like, there's a lot that comes with marriage. So
that comes with marriage.
Actually,
hopefully they have a good plan and you're not
doesn't.
stuck.
Actually, it doesn't, because my wife and I don't file joint. We still file separately.
Wow.
Because it's better. Yeah.
You get more money.
I'm just making it as a point that it doesn't actually always mean.
y'all just a different type of rich than I guess, huh?
Well, I'm just saying,
it all depends on the circumstance, though.
Certain states, even if
you guys could
even
both
if
be
you're
high earners, and it doesn't benefit you to file jointly. You actually end up paying more. So this depends on the circumstance. Not like you're doing it behind your partner's back. It's just, hey, does this make financial sense to file jointly?
Even in some states, even if you're not married, you're cohabitating for a certain amount of time, you become liable for that other person's debt is just as regardless if you're married or not. So just keep
But
that in mind.
children change the
head of
game though.
household, yeah.
Children change the game. Once you have children, then it's obviously a different ball game. So all of that stuff kind of changes quite a bit.
It does. It does.
So let's Shani, what's your take? Is the institution of marriage still valuable, still significant today in your generation?
So to answer your question with a simple answer, I want to say yes, it's still valuable in this day and age, but I will piggyback off Danie and say I completely agree 110% about marriage being a financial deal at the end of the day. Like it's something that I think has more benefits on paper than it has in reality in America. Let me say that. Because this is not what's going on in other countries. In other countries, people are still getting married off of love and other reasons. But in America now, being married definitely absolutely becomes more of a financial situation than it is about the actual partnership. Do I still idealize a fabulous wedding and a long-lasting marriage? Absolutely, because I still believe in the idea of making a commitment with somebody and keeping that promise to each other to continue to love each other, be there for each other, support each other, and just like I don't know who said it, but having that constant person that you know you can rely on in this life, I feel like for me that's gonna go from all my life it's been my mother, but as soon as I get married, now it's going to be my husband. That's going to be my partner, who I'm going to create a life with, et cetera, et cetera. So I still absolutely believe in the idea of marriage, but I will not ignore what marriage actually is in this day and age and in this society, because it is absolutely a financial bonding contract more than it is an actual commitment to being with somebody else for a lifelong, eternity. So
you're saying like more incentive, less intrinsic, more financial, less emotional.
Yes.
Okay. D, like you got a point you want to make.
I couldn't disagree more.
I want to weigh in on real quick if I may.
I go
Champ. First and foremost, marriage, yes, it's necessary. It's an accomplishment. You guys have spent a lot of years together. You've been through the ups and downs. You did this, you did that, and you finally can say, I made it. Now, from the business standpoint, of course, it's beneficial. You guys are combining forces. All right. You guys are becoming a team. Marriage is more necessary now than ever, because now we got all these little kids running around doing God knows what. And I'm not going to get too much into that, but I'm saying marriage is necessary. It benefits all of us. All right. And it teaches the kids that one person is enough. That's all I got to say about that.
Ooh, you know what? It's yo, for real, the people's champ right there, bro.
It's the difference in pitch for me. It's really the difference in pitch for me. That did it for me. Yeah, yes, I felt it.
That's the sexy voice champ.
D-Black, what's your take?
All right, I'm gonna be real quick because I feel like Champ kind of partially hit my argument, and it's funny because I disagree more if we're talking about regions. We're focusing solely on the U.S. and doing comparative to other countries. I disagree more that it's about financials, because in other countries, there's places where they still marry their daughters all to other families to make a larger family. There's places where they still do that. In the U.S. we do not do that. That is that's not a thing. We're getting married, so that's why I feel like we do marriage more because of our feelings and how we feel about each other. I think that kind of helps preserve the sanctity of the relationship. And then it goes back to what Champ was saying, where we're learning that, I can't do this alone. I need a partner for the long term. I need somebody I can build with. It's more about that versus, I need to stack some bread, I need to get my money up. So,
I mean, just to say, I think like we all kind of saying things I feel like we can do. Either you are married or not married. Because ultimately you can still love your partner and support your partner and be the head of the household, either you are married or not to your spouse. So it's really more, I feel like marriage is a choice. There's a reason why marriage has decreased over the last decade to where we are today. It's like, I don't know, like 50% now, that people are getting married. There's a reason for that, because you can still love your partner and get all of the hooplas that comes with marriage without actually doing it So to me, I feel like it's either you have it as maybe a goal, chunky, maybe it is a goal of yours, like one day I would like to be married, or if it's not, then you don't do it. So it's really a choice at the end of the day for me, I think.
Well, for my wife, it was an
Mhm.
expectation. It was not a goal.
Ooh.
It was the expectation that we got married. She made it very clear.
Whatever.
She asked.
Yeah, but it's a
she let
choice,
me
right?
know. She let me know like where's this going. She made
Yeah.
it very clear. So it wasn't a goal for her. It was expectation. There was no other way around that.
Definitely, it could be like that.
Well, I'll say this: America has done the best job in selling the premise of marriage. Like they've done no, America has sold weddings the best, I think, because without that emotional attachment, there's no way you're spending like 100K, six figures on a wedding that some people are doing, like straight up taking out mortgages for their wedding. So it's just like, I would say that America has done the best in selling the concept and selling the significance and emotional attachment to marriage. But I think even from the beginning of time, it's always been financial. Like when we weren't having these big ceremonies, we were bartering women, partners for cattle, for breed, for anything worth of value. You know what I mean? For exchange, because the idea was, okay, you are now extending your bloodline. You may now have the potential to extend your property. You may have the potential to extend your power, your grasp. We're merging families and essentially become stronger as a unit. So that financial dependence, I think that financial security is necessary because real talk for men, especially, we ain't really looking at marriage until we're financially stable. It's like, that's probably one of the first things that comes to mind. It's like, hey, where am I financially before I pop the question? It's not that I think we get a bad rep because it's always like men don't want to commit, men don't want to do this. We always kind of villainized in that sense, but it's just like really for the men that are really serious, it's like, yo, where am I going to get the bread to support these endeavors and the expectations that are needed of me to make this go on to get to that next level?
You ain't trying to be a failure. I hear that.
Exactly.
Relationship. Yeah.
But I mean, my take is I think America has done a really good job in selling weddings and marriage. I'll give it that. But an actual study was done where it was identified that married couples actually lived longer, and married couples actually had increased serotonin levels, and serotonin is necessary as an antidepressant. So the premise is that married couples actually lived longer and happier lives than single people. So for all you that wanted some objectivity to the approach, there it is, boom. So speaking of marriage, let's talk about roles within a relationship. And I want to hear first from the guest panel on this one, because we're thinking about the institution of marriage, but also before we even get there, you have certain expectations, right? As far as what a man or a woman is supposed to do. So I kind of want to get your take on what are the expectations today? Is it how far can you drop it? How many bands can you throw? Like, what are the expectations for a potential partner today versus maybe in our generation where we're looking for financial security? Some were probably looking for, okay, how much plastic can you stuff back there? How big is that yam? How big is that yam?
I was gonna say, when you say how low you drop, what are you dropping?
So now that I provided so many examples, let's
here.
go ahead and go to the people's champ. What are the expectations for men and women today? Have they changed at all? Or are they all still the same?
I feel that they're different. I'm gonna explain why. I was out the other day, not too long ago, and I overheard, some people talking, some girls talking about fellas, and we were chilling with them. Matter of fact, this wasn't even the other day. It was actually some time back. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. But they were talking about who the guys they were chilling with. And they were like, don't chill with those guys. Come chill with me. I know guys that are millionaires. They got money. I'm like, oh, wow. So you're targeting people now. So the expectation now for some girls is to find guys that already have it and have the bands and everything, as opposed to kind of building. So you just get them while they already have it there. So I feel like nowadays, once again, it's about being established and having those bands, as opposed to the building phase and getting to know them and then kind of getting there. You know what I mean?
So I guess in far as your own personal relationship or that long term, that woman that you want to marry, what are your expectations for her? Like if you had any top expectation, what is one of your expectations as a woman you think she's supposed to fulfill?
Oh man. Where do I start?
You ain't ready, I'll pass the torch.
No, I'm on it. I mean, just to be supportive, that's the biggest thing. Everything else kind of goes without say. I'll go to work, she go to work, she has to. She could throw down in the kitchen. I mean, The bedroom's the bedroom. You know how that goes.
The bedroom is the bedroom. Yeah, it is.
Hey,
The kitchen's
come on,
the kitchen.
The living room's the living room. All right, we're naming places in the house.
Come on, I'm
Champ.
talking about action. But no, besides that.
So she has to deliver in the bedroom. She has to have her own, like she has to work essentially. She has to be out here.
Let's go back to let's go back to the bedroom. If that's not fulfilled, I mean, what are we talking about? I mean, we need that to be. I mean, it's got to be at a certain level. That's a big percentage of the relationship. Am I wrong?
WAP?
Oh wait.
We'll
we have to pause.
Did I get off topic? Was that me?
No. It wasn't you who got off topic. Glenn asked an original question, but then we had gotten to a second question. The original question is, what are the standards, or I guess the roles compared to before and now, right? Correct?
Exactly. Like, what are the expected roles for either partner in a relationship today?
Right. But then he had followed up with the question basically asking you what were your expectations. So now going back to the original question, now that you just stated your expectations, do you think they differ from the past expectations or the current expectations, or what do you think the current expectations are nowadays?
Ooh,
like for women. Thank you for getting back on track.
That's back at me.
Yeah, it's back at you.
Okay.
Shot clock, Champ. You got 30 seconds.
I feel like today that support is not at the forefront. It's all these other things that got to come before support. You know, there's all these other requirements. I think support is the main thing. So if something does fall apart, you're always there to support him. Even if he gets locked up, you're still there for him. You know, you don't want to get locked up. You know, we want that support to be there at all times. So we know that the love that's there, it's not skin deep. It's really unconditional. So I think that's a big part of it. So the support is not there. I feel like money is always at the forefront, and careers are definitely great, but the support has to be put back in the relationship to create longevity so they can stay together. And once again, showing the same to the community.
TikTok. Thank you. All right, next, let's go to Shani on that one. Let's get your take. Now, you've already kind of, no, Champ, thank you, brother. I appreciate you. You're the people's champion always. You know what I mean?
No doubt. Yeah.
So, Shani, let's get to your point. Let's get to yours since you were so vocal on it. What are the expectations or roles for men today? Are they any different from previous generations, do you think? Or do you feel like there are different expectations for men today?
Yes, I think that men today, don't hate me, y'all, but I think a lot of y'all are lacking in that leadership role. I think a lot of men nowadays don't want women after their money, don't want women who only want them for certain things, but I feel like these certain things that they don't want women to want them for are what women want in a man specifically. Like, I can only speak on me, but some of the things that I personally want in a man is that, like, I want that traditional style relationship that was back in the days where it's like the man was the provider. Men used to take pride in being the provider. Now they want things to be equal. Listen, I'm a feminist, but I don't know if I'm rocking with that. Like,
hold on.
No. You can't
do that. You can't do that.
Yeah, have your cake.
If you're saying,
come on.
If you're saying equality, and then you're gonna go and say, well, you can still be the leader though.
No. I'm not.
I mean,
hold on one second. Let's give Shani a chance to.
Right, so Shani, are we still running the household, or
wait, one second. Let's give Shani a chance to actually define what that is, right? Because we say traditional, we have an idea of what that is, but let's give Shani, give us an example of what a male leader is, what a male leader should look like. Does he have to earn a certain amount? Does he have to expect to pay all the bills? Like, what does a male leader look like today to you?
Well, for me, I would want a male leader to be someone who I can trust to make decisions. I want them to be somebody that can step up for me when I can't step up. Like, I need someone, like I said, who is a leader. And I feel like, not saying that there's not a lot of men who aren't leaders, but I feel like a lot of men don't give women the opportunity or don't show women that they are leaders because they don't want to show them, you know, the money they make, because they don't want women who want their money. They don't want to show certain things about them, like maybe their intelligence, because they don't want women to think that they're a geek, like certain things like that. And it's like, when did that not become in? When did that not become cool? When did being this leader and being in this dominant role become something negative? And I definitely understand that there's both sides of the story where, there are a lot of women that want certain things, but I just feel like men nowadays are really straying from that dominant leadership role. And
Gotcha.
again, that is just my opinion on what's going on current day age. Like, don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of gentlemen out there that will, pay for the first date along with other things. But like nowadays, a lot of people are looking for, like I said, equality. They want women to also show a certain amount of, and I don't even want to say effort. I feel like they expect women to do certain things because they have done certain things in this way. And I feel like that may not have been the standard back in the day. And again, I can't really speak too much on back in the day because I didn't really know. But just seeing what's going on nowadays and comparing relationships and even the longevity of relationships compared to back in the day, there's definitely a disconnect. And I'm not sure where it is, but just in a lot of the relationships that I've been in nowadays, it's like I feel like men don't want to be that provider and in that dominant role, and I don't know why.
Okay, so you're saying that a man, in your sense, then, and the expected of him, he should fund all the expenses. He should be paying the mortgage. He should be paying all the bills. He should be paying for all the outings. He should be paying for all the vacations.
Not necessarily. This is not only about finance. This is also about security. Like, I need a man that's going to step up for me and speak on something when I'm not talking. If something happens to me tomorrow, I'm going to need somebody who can actually articulate my thoughts and bring them to life. Like, I can't be with somebody who is timid or shy or afraid to,
Gotcha.
step in certain lights. And I feel like men nowadays, like, they're just not in that dominant role anymore. I feel like a lot of them are playing backstage to feel out people and feel out women before they show certain sides of them. And I feel like that's not giving women a fair perspective on getting to know you, because you're not showing them who you actually are from the beginning. Because like I said, like, I feel like, a lot of men nowadays are just hiding certain parts of them. And this also wraps around back to, social pressure, where it's like they feel like they shouldn't do certain things because then that's going to either, attract women of this caliber, or it's going to push women of, other calibers away.
All right. So let's hear it from, I really want to go back to Champ on this one, but I do want to hear Danie's point, because I know, Champ, you're a guy that's in the game out there today. I kind of want to hear your take.
I had a couple things I wanted to get at you for, Chandrelly, but I'm gonna let it slide for it. Because you kind of said articulate your thoughts. I wanted you to expand on that, because that kind of sounded like to me wanting to read your mind.
No.
Hold on 1 second. Let's hear from Danie first, and we'll circle back, because I'm pretty sure the fellas got something to say here too.
Nah, let them fight.
Nah, we want to hear from you, Danie.
Okay.
Tell him, Danie.
That's a dig.
For myself, I feel like the expectation is, like Sheena said, to be a provider. Also, I want to say this. This is a little off topic, a little on topic, but I said this last episode and I'm saying it again because it just came up again. You can be a feminist and still want a man to be the leader and a provider. You can still be a feminist and say that you want to play a certain role. That is not having your cake and eat it too. It's saying that you have your own preference and you feel like every woman has the right to have their preference. You know what I mean? We don't all fit in one box. Yep. So just wanted to say that. But I like traditional relationships. I'm gonna say it. It's gonna sound like bad, but like we're all thinking it. I don't want to work. It's ghetto. Who wants to work? Raise your hand if you want to work. Not I.
Amen. I'm with you. I don't want to work.
Oh,
either.
Y'all want to work? Okay, well, we'll tire your wives then, because we don't like it here. It's ghetto. Like I would personally love to be in a situation where like I'm a photographer. I would love to be in a space where I can just like create all day, and that'll be, you know, my financial contribution. I can have that flexibility to just create at my own pace. You know what I mean? I want a man who will, yes, you know, pay a large amount of the bills, but that doesn't mean pay all the bills. Like if you pay like the mortgage and, you know, phone bills or whatever like that, maybe I'll get the groceries. Okay. The rest of it. You take the big ones, I'll take the little ones. We're a team, you know. I'll pay for the groceries. You know, I'll make sure your house is up and running. I'll do what the woman does. I'll make your house a home. And for that, like you can't pay for that. You can't pay to like come home from a hard day of work and just feel like that homely feeling in your house. There's no number on that. That's priceless. And that's what I can do for you as a woman, I feel like. And I feel like I can't do that to you. I can't pour that into you if I'm tired from work too. Like you want your back rub, I want my back rub. I'm tired. My day was hard. Like I'm personally not attracted to somebody who can't provide, because work to me, I'm a social worker by day. It's a stressful job to have to be in a stressful job and then have to do all these, you know, financial obligations and run a household too. It's like, okay, which one of us is wearing the pants here? Like if I can do this on my own, then leave me alone.
But then that's contradictory because that's contradictory because here's the thing, and Shani, because you're my sister, I love you though, you're mad, but you're very, you know you have a strong personality. So so imagine, so basically, even from part of what y'all saying, I mean, and again, all that, receive it, I take it in, but I just think it's interesting because it's like you're wanting to basically have a man that leads, but you want to lead him to lead you. It's like if he's going to lead, then you ultimately have to, you know, follow by the direction.
How in which way am I leading him to lead me?
Because you're trying
right. You lost me there about the leading him to lead me.
Because you're ultimately trying to define what he needs to do, how he needs to do it. You know,
I'm not saying what a man needs to do. I'm saying the type of man that I want to be with. I want to be with a man who wants to do that. I don't want to make you do anything. I don't want to tell you to do anything. I want it to be innate in you.
Right. So that is what I was going to piggyback off of Danie when she was talking, because I think that's where preference plays a huge role. Like I've stated earlier, like I am not someone who's afraid to build with somebody. So I don't need somebody who automatically has it. I just need someone who has that mindset to be like, okay, you know, once I reach this point, this is what I'm going to do for me and you, because that's something that I personally want. So I think now is where it boils down to preference. Like, again, like, you know, some people want people who are already established, and some people aren't afraid to build wealth and build relationships and stuff like that. But again, it's all about your mind. You know what I mean? Are you actually someone who wants to do that, or do you not want to do that? Because that's not something that's going to build over time. You're not going to wake up today and decide that you don't want to be the provider, and then wake up tomorrow and decide that you do. So
I hear that.
Yeah, I'll say this one thing, and because it's something that's new and she's older. I think some of us, if you're on IG, you know about Tabitha Brown. And one of the stories about, if you don't know her, she's a personality actress. She has her own McCormick Spice line now. She says, you know, that's my business. You know, that lady, great personality today. Probably one of the most positive Black female personalities. She was actually able to, with her career, put her husband into retirement, okay? Her husband was a cop in California. She was able to excel her career to put him into retirement, so then he could now pursue whatever endeavors he wanted to do. You know, yeah, that's right, Danie, and that's her business. But, you know, in the same vein, it's kind of like, I think like today, like that traditional model probably will never happen. Like, yes, men, I think, should be leaders, but not domineering, you know, provide guidance, but not be controlling. You know what I mean? I think that's in us. We have to do that. You know what I mean? But I don't think there's anything wrong with there being a mixed model where both people are working to achieve that, to make that happen. Like, he has to have a space to where he can do that at the same time. You know what I mean? I just feel like honestly today, with the way living expenses are today, they're way more expensive than they were back then. So realistically, it's like, I feel like any man that's unable to now financially provide essentially is just taken out of the picture, because I think that's going to be the main premise. Like, once you're able to provide that financial security, yeah, I think there's a better chance that I can provide that emotional security and comfort as well, because I ain't worried about how we're going to pay the next bill. But that make me any less of a man because I may need help in this area. You know
Well,
what I
it
mean?
doesn't.
So
It doesn't.
Go ahead.
It doesn't make you any less, but
Mhm.
that woman should be able to, if that's what she wants, that's what she wants, right? So I think that's sometimes where we get caught up in that situation. So I agree with all of your points, but I wouldn't want to be with someone who. I wouldn't want to be with someone if that was their like primary objective, right? If that was their primary objective, I don't think that would personally be the person for me, right? So to me, I think if you're not someone who's able to, then that person isn't for you, right? So to me, it's all about like people setting standards and what they want and what's important to them. So what's important to Danie, like she should get exactly what she wants, right? You know, what's important to Glenn, or, you know, to me, it's all about just setting expectations, right? So yeah, count me out, right? If you want someone who has money like Puff, that's not me right now, right? So like that wouldn't be me, right? Like, so I would want to immediately have those people not trying to entertain me. I wouldn't want to be in the rotation or in the mix. I wouldn't want to be in the mix of the rotation of men if that's the case, right? So to me, my whole thing with that is just, it's okay for people to set whatever expectations they are, and if you don't meet those expectations, that's not that person for you. Yeah.
Right.
That was a really dope story about Tabitha Brown, because I think it was kind of reversed. Like he was working really hard while she was kind of going to school and doing things to kind of get herself set up. So I think that's really cool, and
that goes to Danie's point, right? Where if she's home doing whatever she does, she's doing photography, and then she can set off the ground and she can put her man into retirement. I'm a man of yesterday. I'm not a man of today, so I don't know what y'all deal with out there. But you can ask Champ and ask D Black, and you can even ask Lynn. Being a traditional male was the thing that I was all about. So showing that bravado is something that comes with a good bad, right? So I'm the dude that's the pointy end of the spear, that's polished, that's doing everything he has to do, that's effective. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts of fucking about it. This is what I'm gonna do. This is how I'm gonna do it. If you want to hop on this motherfucking train, here's your goddamn ticket. At the same time, it comes down to a problem, right? So we go head to head in an argument. You're starting to feel what you appreciate. Right. So it's just like when I talk to you, it's just like, here's the dominance that you enjoy and that you love, but now it's in front of you. Now you don't know how to take it because it's never been presented to you. That it actually cause a problem. So I hear what you're saying, but it takes both sides, right? You want that man to sit there and say, all right, I'm gonna punch this motherfucker in the face. I'm gonna call it a day because he said shit about you. Point him out, he getting fucked up. That's it. That's how I roll. But then again, when you and I are arguing, it's just like, no, I'm correct because of these facts, because of what's going on. And you have to listen, you're going to have to fall in line. Then that's what spurs the problem. So that's a hard thing to pretty much adjust. So when some men come at you, they're just like, hey, you know what? I'm going to submit. I'm going to let you get your point across. I'm going to let you speak. I'm going to give you that power. I'm going to let you shine. You're just like, well, why don't you lead then? It's just like, I don't want to argue with you. You are my better half. You're the one that's giving me the most amount of strength. So now I'm putting you up on a pedestal, but yet you still want me to lead. And that's where the confusion comes.
That's a good point. Because
my question,
that's a great point.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah, go ahead, Danie.
I was gonna say, I think that is a good point, but I think that it's also important to know, like, because I want a leader, I'm well aware of how to be submissive to that leader. So I don't feel like there's ever gonna
exactly.
There's not gonna say I'm gonna agree with everything you do, but even if I don't agree, I'm trusting you to play that role. So it's never gonna be a situation where we're arguing, like going head to head, and I'm like, well, stop yelling at me. You're hurting my feelings. You're being too dominant. Because if you're that passionate about it, I'm gonna be like, you know what? You're the leader of this household, so your decision is gonna affect us all. If you really feel like this is the decision you want to go in, let's do it. And if I know best, I'm like, when it comes up and blows up in your face, I'm still gonna have you back about it because you were the leader and you carry yourself as such. You're not gonna have 100% correct decisions all the time, but I'm still going to support you in that and be submissive to it if you're a proper leader.
I think with the tricky thing with the traditional model is that the idea of dominance is always used. And I don't think being traditional means being dominant. Like, yeah, you're the leader, but let's be real. Good leaders don't have to exert their dominance. Good leaders are respected because they listen to their counsel, they listen to their guidance, then they make a decision. So it's just like, if the idea of being traditional is always being dominant, then it's just like, real talk, yeah, you're subjecting your equal, your better half, to be submissive to you as opposed to growing with you. You know, a leader guides, he doesn't dominate nor control. So it's just like, I think in the same vein, we gotta kind of all define what it means to be traditional in the true sense, because we've seen toxic masculinity has become traditional in a sense, because it's very prevalent So the idea of what dominance is or what a traditional is, I think is kind of lost, or always going to be subjective because we don't really know what that looks like. You know what I mean? We always just assert that, oh, he's powerful because he's assertive, when, you know, in reality, it could just be a matter of who he's going up against. He's able to show his power. But is he power all around? You know what I mean? And I feel like to be a good leader, you don't always have to put a hammer to everything. You can actually reason, sit down, listen, and guide, and kind of provide a path for people to also feel empowered. That's what good leaders do.
Exactly.
So,
I was literally just about to say the same thing. I feel like as we're talking about leadership and dominance, I feel like communication is being lost in this conversation right now because like good leaders communicate. Good leaders have conversations with who they're leading. And it's not like leaders make blind decisions. It's just that they're the ones who do make the hard decisions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But so, and I think, so with Chunky's point too, and I think actually, so Selassie, you actually really highlighted one key part there, because, toxic masculinity is because of the fact that we live in a world where it's very easy for, if someone is being assertive, that it, especially a man being assertive, it can be misconstrued as being toxic or, being, chauvinistic and all the other istic words that go along with it. I think it really comes down to, like, what Shanny said, communication, balancing that out, having understanding, like even Danie was saying, like, he's being in this state because he has an objective that he has to fulfill. This is why I wanted him for this role. Let him do his damn job, So I think it's valid. It's very valid to have, someone who has that presence, but having the other partner understand that, not misconstruing it as being toxic, not misconstruing it as
and I think being assertive is just a part of our makeup. It's what we do. You know what I mean? It's a part of who makes us who we are, but it's also levels to assertion. You know what I mean? There's assertive, and then there's possessive, and then there's controlling, and that's where we got to kind of identify what that actually looks like. Well, let's actually move to our last question on the relationship mark, and I think, Champ, you're going to love this one. All right, so I took 4 essential relationship traits. And now what I want you to do is I want you to rank them in order of what's most important to you. All right, so we'll start from, it's very little, 4 of them. Most important to least important. So the first one, financial stability and wealth. Number 2, communication. Number 3, intimacy, sexual satisfaction. Number 4, trust and support.
Oof, okay, let's get into it. Dang. All right, so from 1 to 4, we're gonna start with the best one, right? So I guess the first one to me would be trust and support. I say trust and support because that's the glue of the relationship. That's what keeps it together. That's what keeps us, on the same page. That's what keeps us strong, because no matter what happens, we have our support. That's the first for me. The second, definitely communication, financial. I'll go with communication because we gotta be on the same page talking and know what's going on. And as a leader, I'm from yesterday, just like Handon, and just like Danie was talking about, you want somebody that leads, that will lead the way you want so you can follow. You definitely want that communication as a leader. Thirdly, financial stability, because without finances, you can't, uphold that roof. That roof is everything. You know what I mean? You guys need somebody to provide to you, to be able to just take care of the family and, do all the right things financially and that, for that matter. And lastly, I don't even know why I put this last, but
I'm curious. I was wondering. I thought you were gonna start off first.
That's what I was saying. Oh man, it was tough.
So
it's kind of a
box is, the box can be trash, but all the other things are good. You're straight.
I want to switch. Let me switch finances. I want to switch finances fourth, and then intimacy third. Because finances, you guys can build together with that. But I want to put intimacy last because, when things aren't going right, that's the one thing that can fix things. When you guys are butting heads, getting there, handle it. Hey, we best friends again. So that intimacy is definitely, top notch. You need that in a relationship. If it's not there, I think that'll be a reason why relationships don't stick together. You know what I mean? Just not having that together. Okay. To go over it again.
No, you good. We got it. We got it.
All right.
Let's go to Shanny. Rank them. Just simple for us. most important to least important. And then we'll go to Danie next, and then we'll get some comments from our host panel, and then we'll move on to family.
All right, so communication is definitely number one for me because I feel like at the end of the day, all of the other three options can be improved with communication. Okay, number two, trust and support. I need to know that you're gonna back me up. I need to know that you're with me through and through. I need a quote unquote ride or die, period. Three would definitely be intimacy, sexual satisfaction.
Let's
And
go.
for all those who are saying that the D ain't matter, they lying. They lying. I know every female has stayed with a dude only because it was good. Like everything else was trash and we was still there. And financial stability is last. That is last because again, especially for someone like me who's only 25, a lot of us don't got it. We're not made. So it's like we can't be solely dating off of finances right now. So the truth of the matter is we'd all be slacking. We'd all be slacking. So that's the order for me.
All right. Thank you.
I like that.
Danie, what's your take?
The hard one. I'm so afraid. I think I'm just going to wing it and just go with whatever I say because I can't.
That's how we work.
Yeah. Okay. So boom. First and foremost, I'm actually going to say trust and support. I need to be able to trust you to, like I said, to lead. If we're going to be in a relationship, that's big for me. And I think financial stability is second for me.
Ooh.
Yeah, I said it. I told y'all I don't want to work, and I'm standing beside it.
Speak your truth. Speak your truth.
That's your business.
No, honestly, I feel like I said, I feel like money has a big effect on relationships. Like, and if we're ever going through something like hard times, then let's take a vacation. Let's take a vacation and talk about it on an island. Like, we can't do that if we broke. So
Yeah.
I think financial stability is second for me. I think communication. Dang.
You putting that
Communication gonna have to be third for me, and intimacy and sexual satisfaction will probably be fourth. But like, I'm not happy about it. Like, I'm not happy about the fact that we have to have this number 4. But it's just like,
I mean, you put it as 4.
Yeah,
with reluctance.
You could have put it as 1A.
Don't start that.
Okay, because here my thing is, okay, if we have intimacy issues, I need to be able to communicate that. So I feel like the communication will be before intimacy. But if we have like communication issues, but the sex is bomb, it's like, but what are we like? But we're arguing every day. Like we can't talk to each other, effectively. So
that's true.
Yeah.
Right. No progression.
And trust for me, I guess, like I said, it's first of all, because like without trust and support, none of that other stuff falls in line for me. Like, I'm not having sex with you if I don't trust you. I'm not our communication. If I don't trust you, I can't even trust what we're communicating. Like, are you telling me the truth? You know what I mean? And financial stability, like I said, how am I going to trust you to lead a family? So trust, like I said, is that's 0, no higher for me. But everything else, it could be moved on any given day. I don't know.
Good point. And one thing I like that you're always saying too is that you don't want to work. And I actually want to adopt that because it's like, why work when you can live? Not in the sense where we're just sitting around not doing anything all day, but you're actually fulfilling what you feel like is your purpose. Like,
yes, I want to do my passion.
Yeah, like that's what when people confuse saying that, oh, she's lazy as hell. Nah, it's like you want to fulfill your purpose in life. That is no longer work. That is divine. You know what I mean?
Thank you, Glenn. Could you make this the thumbnail next time so that way I can repost it?
I should have yelled in between that, so it would have been bad.
Trying to clear her name right now.
Danny, and I'm not gonna lie, my wife says the same thing. She's like, Francis, I can't wait so I can't work. So she can do all the things. I was like, girl, okay. Whatever.
I mean, I don't feel like I can be the partner that I want to be to somebody if I'm working. Like, even like I was all right, whatever. Now I was about to get.
No, go ahead, go. You gotta heat it up.
Okay, yeah. So I was spending a weekend with a nice gentleman, and work was in the way. Literally, like I had my laptop open the whole entire time because of unforeseen circumstances. I'm on call right now. People are calling me about kids and going to, like it's like I can't even enjoy you, and you can't even enjoy me because I'm working. So like, and he said like, you work a lot. I'm like, I know, retire me. What's up? Like, you can go on me, retire me.
What's up?
See the problem, right? Solve it.
Like the 401k.
I mean, so I got a question for you. So like, let's say you're done like working, right, and you go into your passion, which is photography. So if you're passionate about a project, are you going to take a break from that project to actually relax, or are you going to be like headstrong in it and get through it and be done? To me, when I look at work, it's just like, well, it's something that pretty much we all like to do at this point. We can all quit our jobs right now if we choose to, but we're making the choice to stay in what we're staying in, whether that work be something you're passionate about, whether it be work be a means to an end. When you look at work, I think it's more so doing something you really don't want to do in order to make money, more so than doing something you truly enjoy making money. That's still work in a sense, but it's not a hassle. It's just like, all right, cool. I got to go out here and do this. I got to do this travel, but I enjoy all of it. So I'm actually enjoying my time working on my business, but that's just subjective and that's just my goal, you know?
All right, so let's turn the question over to our host panel. I just want to get your opinions on this because these are they call these essential relationship traits, right? And you guys are married, so you guys probably hit all these on the head, right? You guys probably have an order in your mind or had an expectation before, and maybe they flipped around a little bit. So I'm just going to open it up to you guys real quick to say, hey, is there any validity to these traits, and what order did they appear to you? If you guys have any comments on them?
I guess you can go. All right. Well, I guess for me, I'll say communication. That's really the foundation for any relationship. Then trust and support, because I want to be able to go on a trip and know my wife ain't wilding out at the crib. And then we just trust each other, like for with our feelings and a lot of different things, right? So it's, I mean, it's way more deeper than just trust at that level. And then definitely then the sex is really important, then the finances last. Even though I was joking to my wife, was talking about like she does play around with that, but I think because her passion is in sport. She would love to like coach, she coached on the like part-time, like swimming and stuff. She would love to do that full time, but she knows, her day job, is really critical to like the lifestyle she wants to live. So finance is important, but at this stage of our life, it's not as critical, So that's kind of how I rank it.
So it's actually interesting to see that's one so far in the Deep Black Gold, but it doesn't seem too far off from what our single people are saying. And that's pretty interesting. But
that's true. Yeah, that's actually a good induction too. So I actually have the exact same order as Fran. I'll just give a real quick justification. Everybody know I speak on communication. I mean, I need the comms. I need to be able to, converse, good or bad. That's, number one thing for me. Trust and support. What would be next? I need to be able to trust you. I'm gonna need your support. Intimacy. I'm a man, so that explains enough. I'm a man, so I
gotta hold it down.
It gotta be in there somewhere. If you think it falls off, I'm tripping. And then financial stability would be last. Yeah, because I'm gonna, in a traditional sense, that's how I am. I'll provide, I'll take care of you, as long as you got the other things in order. So.
Okay. Dre, Chunks, any other final comments on this?
I think mine is probably closer to Danie's. I think, trust, communication. I think those are either, I'm okay with those being interchangeable, but I definitely would say financial stability is third, and intimacy, sexual satisfaction is fourth for me. I think as I get older, it just sex sometimes becomes it's not always top of mind. As I gotten older, I would say that I've definitely kind of changed my willingness to want to have it all the time. So I think kind of as you get older, from what I've been told, that is normal. So to me, I think as long as the other items are in order, the communication, then you can communicate that you want to have more sex. To me, I feel like as long as those are in place, a strong foundation of trust and communication, I think are key, because I think with intimacy and or sex, if everything else isn't right, then the sex you're not going to be, at least from my experience, you're not going to be sexually satisfied. Well, I guess maybe for men, it's a little bit like we pretty much just need some friction sometimes. It's not really too much. It's a little bit easier for us. Yeah, it's a little bit easier for us to without getting into too much details. But I feel like that's kind of like I feel like it's a lot less, at least for me, it's a lot less of a priority. Obviously, it's still really important to be able to connect with your partner that way. But I think as I've grown older, I've seen more benefit in making sure that we are aligned in those other areas, because that does have, if I communicate very well with my wife and she trusts me, then she will want to have sex more often. So I've learned that as a trick.
So it all boils down to getting those yams as often as possible by any means.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Nah, it was great points, Ray. Thank you, brother. All right, Chunks, close us out, man.
What did Jody C say? Come and talk to me. I really want
Hey.
to.
Come
Can
on.
I talk to you?
Hey.
I really want to know you.
Coming with that
Okay.
culture. Okay, Chunks.
Free use.
Yeah, communication, everything else falls the same as trans, cis, and D Black. And you're welcome for Champ and my presence during this podcast. We're done.
Yes, indeed.
I'm being pinned for this one. You want to hear my comments? All right,
Yes,
so
sir, please.
real talk. Y'all know I'm the senior coxman here, right? So it's just like real talk. It's like, I'm not gonna front. When I came up with this question, I was like, damn, will I sound crazy for putting intimacy and sex first? Because I was just like, but then after hearing what everyone else was saying, here's my original order. It was intimacy and sex, then communication, financial stability, and then the trust and support. But now I was like, yo, that shit just sound crazy. So I was just like, yo, I'm just gonna flip it. So
No, but I mean,
It doesn't sound crazy.
It sounds crazy.
You,
No.
Glenn.
Nah, I'm just gonna say
Let's
real
not
quick.
underestimate the power of intimacy, okay?
I
It doesn't
got
sound
you.
crazy at all.
Trust.
I got
Yeah.
you, because that's communication in its own sense, right? But it was
with your
just
body.
like, I thought about it. I'm like, real
My
talk,
cousin was like, yeah.
like
Yums.
sexual satisfaction will only go as long as you're able, right? And then like in health, we're gonna decline eventually, and it's gonna be a little bit harder to do the things that we did in the past. So I put intimacy and sexual satisfaction together because intimacy is like the affection, the emotional connection, and things like that. And it was just kind of to reduce it from being such a long list. I'm just like, you know what? That's probably number 2 for me. So communication, intimacy, sexual satisfaction, trust and support, and then financial stability. And that's what my final order was. But,
Yeah.
Oh wait, so it was number
Finances
2
was
for you?
2?
number 2, yes. From number 1 to number
Finances?
2. No, number
Finances?
2 was
Oh, all right.
communication.
Okay.
Sorry, say it in order again.
No, sorry, it was communication, then intimacy,
Okay.
then trust and support, and then financial was last.
Got you.
No, you nasty.
I'm a nasty man.
Yeah, but I would say, Glenn, definitely don't underestimate the power of intimacy, because if we look at our love languages, what this world says are the 5 things that can help us bring us closer to a person. How much of that is actual verbal communication?
Mhm.
Service of act, that's not verbal communication. Quality time doesn't automatically mean verbal communication. And physical touch, you know what I mean? So it's like a lot of those love languages are things that physically happen in our day-to-day lives that actually attracts us to people. So I definitely, those who would have put sex first or second, I'm not judging you. Only those who put finances first or second, I'm judging
Thank
you.
Shannon. You're so kind to my precious little perverse hearts. All right, so the reason why these were considered essential is because the end goal with any long-term relationship for some of us, and honestly, the American ideal, is the idea of preservation and building of the family. And I really wanted to touch on this particular subject because it seems as if the significance or value of family has somewhat declined in this era, this day and age. So let's throw it out to our guest panel first. And with a family, that incorporates children, of course. How many of you actually plan to have children? Why or why not? And let's start off with Shani on this one.
I definitely plan on having children. But something that I want to say I recently figured out is that, like, I want to say my views on having children are a little different from what a lot of people, talk about children for. I want to say that I want to have children simply because I want that unconditional love. I want that company, someone that I know is going to be another partner in my life. But funny enough, a lot of answers that I've been hearing recently have to do with lineage and legacy. So I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say also. But I definitely want kids, as many as God blesses me with. And that's another reason why when it comes to having that traditional role, I'm definitely somebody that brings up very early when we do talk about kids, are like, hey, once I'm pregnant and once I have a child, I plan on not working because I don't want to have to stress about working and bearing a child at the same time. So, um, and when we created this list of what we prefer and what we want, even though finances was number 4, I don't want it to get twisted that like it's not important. All 4 of those options were very important, but I guess when you have to make a list, that's just where it boils down to.
Mm-hmm. Good point. Let's bring it over to Danie and then Champ.
All right.
Wow. I actually hate this question because I feel like as a woman, you're expected to have kids and, be so
2021
excited.
is good.
Yeah, I
Social
know.
pressure.
You're right. I feel like you're expected to have a baby. And if you don't, you're selfish and all this, that, and the third. I can't be a stay-at-home wife. I feel like if I'm not knocking out some kids. So like, it's difficult for me. Unless, my man does not want to have children, but I feel like a lot of the guys that I interact with definitely want kids. I'm at the point now where I don't speak against my womb. Before I used to be like, I'm not having kids. What are you talking about? No, never. So, I used to like joke and say, oh, for my 25th birthday, I'm going to treat myself to getting my tubes tied, stuff like that. So like, it was a big thing that I did not want kids. And it still is not something that like, I yearn for. I feel like, I don't know. I just feel like I'd be like a cool rich auntie. But I feel like kids are a huge responsibility, and maybe it's because I have the profession that I work in. I work with children and families. I see the time and the commitment, the effort that goes into it, and that may make me selfish, or that may make me such a loving parent that I'm choosing not to be a parent. Who's really wrong here? So what I do say is, if I find a partner who can change my mind, like Jeannie made me, Jeannie Mai, wasn't that who the girl off of The Real who married Jeezy? Like she was married for like years with her husband. Her husband decided all of a sudden, like, I actually do want kids after all. So if we don't get kids, we're gonna get a divorce, basically. So they got a divorce. And so she started dating Jeezy, and now she's pregnant.
Yeah, now she's
like
pregnant.
maybe that might be my future, but right now I'm say I'm open to everything, but I'm not pressed for children.
You know what that's called actually when you're married? It's actually an acronym for it, DINC, dual income, no children.
I love that.
It was generated because essentially that provided the most. If anyone has financial stability, not saying nothing against having children, but it is an expense and then there's a cost. But it was just research indicates that married people without children generally have more income, obviously, because you're not spending as much. But at the same time, 2021, it's your body, you're empowered to feel how you feel, sister. So, thank you for those points.
Thank you for your support, Glenn.
No doubt. People's Champ.
Oh yeah.
I know you want like 10. You want like a whole soccer team. I already know you.
Now bring it up top.
Missing the player.
Well, at first I really didn't want kids. I didn't really see myself having them. I just felt as if I wasn't there in my life to have kids. But as I got older, I realized, especially when I looked through the eyes of my music professor, Professor Rigel to be exact, he told me kids keep you well grounded. They bring out the best in you. They keep you alive, and they teach you so much. And I just thought to myself, like, wow, that's a beautiful thing that could happen to me. So I feel as if kids are just essential. They really are essential. No, I'm being serious, and that they keep you young. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And I think I want to have a couple myself, before my time is done.
That was beautiful.
I mean, that's some facts right there.
Yeah, I love Champ, man.
So, Champ, thank you for being on.
Champ is a storyteller. I can tell. Natural storyteller.
I just want to go back to like what Danie said. Like, having a kid to me doesn't seem like a huge responsibility. You are responsible for them, but it's one of the best things that can ever happen to you in life, to be honest with you. Because what Champ was saying is, it's like they bring out the best in you. Like, you think about every decision before you make it. You figure out how to be happy 9 times out of 10, and like you got this little bundle of joy trying to pull the cord out of the outlet and try to stick their finger in it, and you're just like, what the fuck are you doing? But it's just those moments where it's just like, they're crazy, but they're awesome. There's some things that they say and that they do that just like melt your heart. Even the strongest of men have been broken by their children, in the sense that I have to cry over this moment because this moment's amazing, whether it's at birth, whether it's their first participation trophy, just kidding, whether it's their first big accomplishment. It's just like I sat there, and the mom too, like being a mother is hard. Being a parent in general is just being hard. Being a dad is hard because, like, all right, I'm the provider, I'm the protector of two people now, and I have to be consistent. So if you think it's a big responsibility, yes and no, but it's freaking amazing. So go out and lease a child for a day and then see how it is. Or like
she sees kids daily. She's social.
Literally.
no. I'm saying like the joke is just like if you're an auntie, like if you bring them home for a day, which you probably already have, it's like it's pretty cool just to hang around a child for a day. It's just see what they do that's awesome and funny.
I agree 100%. I love kids and the joy that they bring, and they bring me joy when I can give them back. But I hear you though. It might be different if I have my own. I definitely I can relate to that as well.
This is definitely a preference thing again, but I feel just as strong as Chunky, where it's like children is a deal breaker for me. If you don't want them, I don't want you, and it's really just that simple.
Damn. Yeah, you ain't gonna talk about it or nothing. You just.
Because the thing is, again, I know what I want. It's just one of those things where it's like, this is what I want, and it's not going to be something that I ever see myself budging on. You know, it's something I want with or without a man. So why is a man going to change that for me? You know.
Facts. All right. So with that said, let's bring some closure to this topic, and let's end it off with some final statements on this last question, which I'll pose to both the host and guest panels, and that is: has the value or importance of family declined with today's generation? Why or why not? And let's start off with our host panel, the brothers, the JJC panel. And let's start it off with Dre. What's your take? Do you think the importance of family has declined today?
I don't think so. I think if anything, it's probably been the inverse of that. I think if anything, I feel like we are in the height of people celebrating kind of having families and it being a thing. I think it's almost slanted to where the narrative is that if you don't have children, you can't have a fulfilled life, or you're missing out on so many opportunities. So it was really cool, Danie, to hear you kind of be so transparent about that, because I don't think that is something that a lot of people are very open with, just because there is kind of a negative kind of connotation to that. Why don't you want to have children? Why don't you want to be a mother? You know, I think there is something to that. But I think kind of we are in the, at least in my lifetime, I feel like this is like the most loud it's been for kind of really celebrating families being together and all in one household. And you see all these examples of, I know it's kind of easy to use athletes and entertainers, but it's a big deal, right? When you see these people, you know, the Jay-Z's and Beyonce's, right? They're having a family, them showing their family, they're making a big deal about it, right? All LeBron, right? You're very clear about who LeBron and his children are, right? Versus I think for the older people in this on the podcast, you know, our athletes were our athletes and entertainers, to that matter, were kind of very kind of quiet about their families, you know, or maybe they were not openly talking about being married and being in a relationship and having children. So I think we're kind of in we're in a really great era where families are being really celebrated. I just think we need to just be very careful of not swinging so far to where we're thinking that you can't have a fulfilled life if you don't have children.
Great points, Dre. Anything else from our host panel? Any seconds, any objections before I turn it over?
No, I think Dre pretty much hit it on the head right there, straight up. He nailed that sucker.
I bet.
Yes, sir.
So let's bring it over to our guest panel then. Hearing what you've heard, trying to put closure on the topic and put in a nice little package, a little bow tie. Has the importance of family waned today? Do you feel like it's something that's important to your generation? Or is it just another social construct? You know, like, what's your take? And we'll start off with Champ on this one, and we'll close it off with the ladies.
Right. Yeah, I think family's really important, especially for this generation. I feel as if the divorce rate is so high. You know, I think statistically speaking, we're at I got the stat right here. I looked it up before. Hold up. we'll come back to that, but it's kind of high and everything.
Early,
I think
never late.
it's kind of high, and it goes up every year. That we want to kind of build that back, into the family. We want to, reconstruct the family construct and get the stability back where the two people are actually staying together. We want to, once again, I'm all about the community, so I really want to show that example that family's important, and the importance of the father and the mother being together is definitely necessary for the kids coming up, especially for the daughter or the son. They have so many values to impart to them, and without having them separate, it kind of messes up their upbringing a little bit, I feel. So family, the value of family, I feel this is very important. Without those two being together and having that natural nuclear family, I think it'd be detrimental to the children, I feel. But nonetheless, there are a lot of families out there that do get to, keep together, being a single mom or a single dad, or whatever the case may be. But I feel as if family values in terms of them being together, and especially for this generation where it's, visiting on the weekends is now the norm for the kids, and I don't like that at all. But people act like that's a normal thing and it's okay. I don't like it, to be honest, but I feel as if, for the family construct, let's keep them together, and shout out to the nuclear family.
And just to bring just to bring highlight to the stats you're trying to pull up. Basically, right now there are over 750,000 divorces in the U.S. each year. So even though the divorce rate has fallen in America, it's still the highest in the world currently, in the United States. Just to bring some closure, some levity to that. And thanks for bringing that up, Champ.
Of course.
Channy, Danie, take us home on this one. We start off with Channy first.
Despite my few cynical comments about love, I actually do think that family values have increased. I think a lot of people, and something I'm very happy to see, especially Black people, are taking more pride in their family lives and the family that they're raising. So I definitely agree with Dre 110%, where I feel like it is on the up and up.
All right, thank you. Danie, any closing words on this?
Yeah, I hate to be the cynical one in this.
Don't do it.
Situation. I'm gonna do it. I gotta enter the clip.
Nah, speak up.
Yeah,
I think
culture.
it has. I feel like a lot of my cynicism has to do with, I think, the profession that I'm in. Because if you see a bunch of nonsense on a regular basis, you're gonna kind of internalize it and think that the world is full of nonsense. So I try to be as unbiased as possible. But I've seen a lot in this ghetto. I do feel like our family values are decreasing these days. It's definitely not like it was before. I mean, before, not that I'm condoning it, but before, families were, staying together, off the strength of the children. Again, not that I'm saying that that's the greatest ideal situation, but these days people are not staying together. Families are breaking up. Kids are being born out of situationships, and you don't even, you barely know your future co-parent. Like, I just feel like it has declined, unfortunately. So yeah, that's my opinion. I'm gonna stick beside it.
Thank you for that. And that's probably when we'll even drop to the public, maybe as one of the post podcast discussion questions, or just something for all of our listeners to think about at home, especially if you fit any of these models. If anyone here on the show resonates to you, if you feel like this person is speaking to my story, definitely take it home. Once again, thank you all for returning. I know you all have your busy lives. You're all out there trying to make it. Y'all grinding. I get it. But, we're very gracious that you extended, the invitation, or you accepted the invitation to come back and, bless us with your insight and giving us more culture. All right. So for more content or to learn more about the podcast, feel free to check us out at Jerk Jollof Collar Pod on Instagram. Podcast episodes drop every Wednesday. Stay tuned for the outro coming right up after this to learn additional ways to reach us and send us your feedback. Be sure to like, share, follow, and subscribe. If you like what you're hearing, feel free to leave us a review on your preferred streaming platform of choice. Hope to see you all again next week. Stay safe out there. Stay blessed. Bless somebody. Hug somebody. Love somebody. Peace.
Peace. Kiss somebody.
Yada, 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 yada.
Great, y'all.
And that concludes today's episode, but that doesn't mean the conversation has to end. As a matter of fact, feel free to check us out at JJC Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, for our post-discussion question following the release of this episode. If you are a Black or minority business owner or professional that would like to be featured on the Rep Yours segment of our show, or a listener with some general feedback for the podcast panel, feel free to shoot us an email at jjcpod@gmail.com. As always, likes and comments are always appreciated. Be sure to subscribe or follow to be notified when the next episode releases. And until then, stay safe, stay blessed. Peace.